Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. What a wild week it's been. I can't believe that it's already Thursday and I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk about this movie yet, because I watched it, I guess, what was that, on Saturday, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like, this was everything I was looking for from Leigh Janiak when it came to part 2 of this horror trilogy on Netflix. What am I talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler free, and then a little bitty spoiler free into Fear Street Part 2, 1978. And like I said, Leigh Janiak crushed this. Like, my general thought was that these movies were going to get better just simply by going from the genres that they were going, like 90s slasher, moving to the 70s slasher at a camp. That should be an improvement. And then still, I think when we get to 1666, we're going to see the best of what the series has to offer. But what Janiak does with this one is everything I wanted and everything that was missing from 94. First off, we'll just go right out the gate. While I like the soundtrack of 94, I thought we could have used some more of those 90s vibes. Not the case here. Oh my good God, the soundtrack on this one is phenomenal. Like, every music choice that came, like when you see my reactions at the end of this, like you're gonna just see a lot of me like singing along and bopping my, because they just, everything I wanted and was missing from 94 from the soundtrack, and I got with the 70s soundtrack here. It was so good. I loved every minute of it. But then, outside of that, I think Janiak just nails the horror better in this one. Like, because you're at a camp and you have far more bodies at your disposal, she's able to keep up the horror and the just kind of non-stop of like, oh my, like the whole, like I thought 94 kind of dipped a little bit in the middle, specifically because your main cast is never getting killed off. 78 has a plethora of people, so once the axe killer shows up, like, it's just, it is not like completely non-stop, but like the terror of that night is non-stop. And I loved every second of the axe killer from 1978. Oh man, like, it was gonna be impossible to top pushing a person's head through a bread slicer in a grocery store. That's just something I've never seen. And like, now you're swinging to a guy who wields an axe. That's a pretty basic function. So you're not going to get anything wild like you haven't seen. But they did some stuff with the axe that I definitely had not seen before. And while it's not quite the bread slicer, there are a few that are just like phenomenal. And the cool thing that Janiak does with the killer throughout the whole movie is, like, you have a camp that's not just counselors, right? Like, you have like tweens and younger kids. So she does this wonderful thing where, much like a lot of the movies in the 70s in the slasher realm started to show you that gore, she's able to go full boat in that department. Like, there is plenty of blood and gore and oh good God moments. But she's also able to, like, throw some Hitchcockian style to her horror, because some of the kids that get killed are kind of on the younger side. And it's more of that, like, you see it come in, and then the camera cuts to, like, outside the cabin or in a spot where you can't see what's happening, and you're just hearing the noises or seeing the aftermath. And all of that stuff was super, super effective. So as far as like the serial killer of this movie, nailed it. And then just the 70s camp vibe, I mean, crushed. The setting here is perfect. It's like one of my favorite horror settings to be in. Like, I never get tired of the camp killer. Just like that whole camp vibe, and specifically when you're talking about the two towns being at this camp, both Shady Side and Sunnyvale. I love that competition angle. I love that, like, Sunnyvale is the place where nothing bad happens, and all the people from Sunnyvale are just absolute dickbags. You know, on the shady side, like, much like our characters, you kind of have some empathy for them. They get the shit end of the stick a lot. And that rivalry and the way it plays just throughout the whole movie, I loved how she handled all that stuff. And, like, man, are the Sunnyvale kids just terrible, terrible kids. I mean, not all of the Shady Siders are that good either, but it's like a wonderful mix that gives you, like, all the things that you need in a 70s movie. You know, and just in a horror movie in general, you know, you got your kind of pure character, you got your badass, you got your complete a-hole, like, sport bro kind of character. Like, they just check all the boxes with your main group, and the way Janiak shoots this, very much like 94, I just love the aesthetic of the way that she handles all of the sequences throughout. I just really thought, top to bottom, script to behind the camera, everything she does here is just exactly what I was looking for. And when it comes to the cast, I enjoyed this cast more than I did the 94 cast. As you know, I was not the biggest fan of Kiana Madeira or Olivia Scott Welch's performances. Again, it's either the performance or just the characters of Dina and Sam. I just wasn't digging them in 94, and, like, they're two of your main characters were just kind of hurt here. Not the case in 78. I love everything that's going on. And even with that 94 cast, I mean, much like I said we would get, spoilers, they bookend the movie. Benjamin Flores Jr., not a lot to do, but I'm a big fan of him just right out the gate. I just loved what he did in 94, and he keeps that vibe here. Olivia Scott Welch, upgrade for me in this movie. What they're asking her to do is completely different than what they asked her to do in the first one. And if you saw the first one, you know where she is at the end of that. I was digging what she was bringing, energy-wise. And even Kiana Madeira here, I didn't mind as much. And maybe it's just because the story angle is different and they're on screen less. But it makes me feel a little bit hopeful that, like, maybe there's a good rally for these two characters when we get to 1666. And then add in a Gillian Jacobs, whose voice we hear in 94. We get to see her here. Small role, does a wonderful job. There's a really interesting quirk with her character that I thought was fascinating. And, like, I want to learn more about what the deal is with that, and I'm hoping we get that a little bit with 1666, although I don't know if we will or not, based on where they go. The ending of this movie caught me off guard, and I was like, oh, damn, like, that's what we're doing? And it rolled right into, like, the little tease that they have at the end. I will react to the full trailer for 1666 after this. But I'm interested with Gillian Jacobs' C. Berman. Now, on the flip side, all the new characters that we got this time around. I love this 1978 cast. Sadie Sink, who plays Ziggy, phenomenal. She's pretty much our main go-to person, her and her sister, Emily Rudd, who plays Cindy. And I love both of these characters a ton. They are like the same coin, but on very opposite sides. Like, Cindy is your classic good, pure girl, and she's dialed that up to, like, an 11 because she's trying to distance herself from her shady side roots. Sadie, on the other hand, is someone who's, like, embraced the idea of shady side, and that, like, she knows that, like, they get the short end of the stick all the time, and that they're cursed, and just the way she plays with that and how she's kind of a bad girl. I just dug everything that she was doing. And both of these characters, as they, you know, evolve throughout the course of the movie, they kind of have separate but parallel stories running. Loved it. Like, I thought the performance from both, you know, Rudd and Sink were very, very strong, and I liked where they went with their stories a lot. Add in Ryan Simpkins, who plays Alice, and I can't find him on IMDb, but her boyfriend in the movie. Fantastic. Shady side of the tracks. But they are just like the camp counselors who are there for not the kids. They're there to do drugs and have sex and, like, just have a good time over the course of the summer. And, like, just the way that they kind of buy into the shady side stuff too. I just enjoyed it. Like, her boyfriend, nothing but comic relief. And then Alice is, you know, she's funny, but also like a little evil. And there's an interesting tie to her and Cindy. And that arc with those two characters makes Alice way more interesting by the end of the movie, and I just dug what they did, you know, with her. Then you got McCabe Slye, who plays Tommy Slater. Loved everything they did with this character. I was a little hesitant at the beginning, but when Slye hits his groove, Tommy Slater is a cool character, and what he does with the performance, I really, really, really dug. And then, like, you also have, some younger versions of characters that we know. Brandon Spink, who plays young Will Good, and Ted Sutherland, who plays young Nick Good, the pair of brothers. Much like the sisters in this movie, they're kind of two sides of the same coin. And we don't spend a ton of time with Will, but I like what he does with the role, and I really enjoyed Ted Sutherland. I thought the stuff they did with Nick and how Nick's character in particular ties to Ziggy's character, I thought that was cool and kind of ties some threads together from '94 that we hadn't had answered. You also get Drew Scheid in this movie. He plays Gary. I love any time this kid pops up in stuff like this, and he does what he is asked to do perfectly. And then there are a trio of bitches in this movie, led by Chiara Aurelia as Sheila. She's the head bitch, and she nails that. Like, she is everything that you would expect from a head bitch, and her two little lackeys, Becky and Annie, played by Marcelle LeBlanc and Eden Campbell, nail that stuff. Like, there are definitely times where it seems like one or both of them are like, should we do this? But they just can't give in to, their leader, so to speak. So I thought those three, while small roles, real nice ad, and definitely checked off some more boxes of things you want to see in a movie like this. And then you've got, like, your big D-bag leader of the Sunnyvale folks, Michael Provost, who plays Kurt, and Jacqi Vene, who is, like, your leader on the Sunnyvale side, who plays Joan. Kurt is a total bro, and he doesn't mess with, like, drugs or anything like that, and, like, he's the guy who will, like, he's involved in something that happens at the beginning where you're just like, oh, I can tell that this guy is just, like, this very kind of rigid, like, I will bury shady siders anytime I can. I'm just looking for excuses to do so. And then Jacqi Vene, her Joan, is like that hippie loving, like, I'm looking to smoke a joint all the time and just kind of chill out and vibe and send good vibes and peace and love, and nails that. And those two characters interact with each other a bunch in this movie, and fascinating. Like, I just enjoyed any time they were on screen. So overall, like, the movie really nails it from the cast side as far as, like, what it gives our '94 folks to do at the front and back, and how they just fill the 1978 world. Like, it's perfect. And like I said, the axe killer is so dope, man. Like, the brutality and the just the visceral nature to the way he he's just so brutal. And there is a cool thing that we kind of learn about him toward the end of the movie, where I was like, oh, dude, that's cool. Like, we kind of got a little bit of, like, an origin of a thing that is involved with that character, and, like, all of that stuff was just really neat. And the overarching story of the Fear Street stuff and the Sarah Fear things, I really dug it, man. Like, it connects a lot of dots that we were missing from the first movie, and just fills in a lot of the lore, and it gives specifically Cindy and Alice, like, a chance to explore, like, a different kind of set piece, like, away from the camp, that ties more into that 1666 stuff. That whole bit was dope, man. Like, visually, the production design in, like, these kind of caverns that they're exploring, really, really cool, and how their story ties into the Sarah Fear stuff. Like, just got me really giddy and excited for 1666. And then also kind of filled in the gaps on some of the stuff that seemed a little easy, right? Like, the way they stumble across, Sarah Fear's bones. There's stuff that you notice about that we learn more about here. And now it's like a trigger where it's like, we're going back to 1666, so we probably won't see it again. But if we end the movie in 94, like, there's a specific thing to keep your eye for if you're looking for certain stuff. So I liked how they just tied all that together, and again, how they set up 1666. So I was a big fan, man. This one knocked it out of the ballpark for me. So let's get the old C-Maniac meter up. Let's give this bad boy a score, and then let's talk some spoilers. For me, like I said, it checked off every box of a 1978 horror slasher movie that I could have asked for. Its ties to both 94 and 1666 are strong and does a really good job of kind of elevating and supporting both of those movies. I love this cast, and, like, more than I like the 94 one, and I just like the story that Janiak tells here. It hits all those classic beats, but keeps you on edge, keeps you surprised, and she's able to keep the horror and the terror up for longer stretches of time, and I just dug everything they were doing. So for the C-Man, We're going 4.5 out of 5 Sea Maniacs. I'm going to leave a little room here for 1666 to approach that 5 Sea Maniac score, but this was about as perfect a 1978, kind of horror movie camp vibe that you could do. I thought Janiak crushed this. I am so excited for 1666, and now it is time for some spoiler action, and we start our spoiler goodies with my reactions. There's certainly, like I said, a lot of bobbing of my head and jamming out because the music is so freaking good. But there's also plenty of oh man, what did they just do moments. So let's take a look at all the Seaman's reactions from Fear Street, Part 2, 1978. Yes. This is the last movie was missing. That soundtrack. Dude, come on. I love it. Peace when you are done. When you're weary, head to rest. Don't you cry no more. I love this score. It's got like a Friday the 13th like. Tani is the axe killer. Oh no! Twice? Oh, that guy's face is gone. Oh no! I think they'll put the bag over his head. Oh man. Oh, that's great. Oh, they're still under hair. They're all over. Oh, those are spiders.
Did you hear her?
She sounded like a frog.
Oh. Run, kid. Oh no! What the?
Let's get out of here.
That's like, why is everybody's eyes out of their face? Oh no! That is a very broken ankle. Oh, they're both gonna die. Oh no! Oh! So brutal. Never ready for it.
Mr. Harrison, fucking hair all the time. Next thing I know, I'm in the principal's office. And
No. Even the Hitchcock style is still. Oh no! Oh, he chopped him up into little pieces. Oh God. Yeah, I'm with you. Oh no! Oh no! 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 Oh God! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, he has no head. Oh God! Also, what is that? Is that where they come out from? Whoop-bye! Oh, God, man. Oh, my God! Oh, no, 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 no! Oh, no, 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 no! Over and over again. Oh, my Lord. Why is she singing it now? She's full on become Sarah Fierce? Oh, dude, I could not wait for 66. Ah, Leigh Janiak, you're crushing this shit. Bro, like, like you saw, this movie did everything I wanted, man. I was just happy and enjoying myself so much in this movie. And from the spoiler side, let's start with the kills. Like I said, you're not gonna top a bread slicer, but the first kill that we get from our ex-killer, which, spoilers, is Tommy Slater, possessed by Sarah Fierce, spell, curse, whatever you want to call it. His name gets carved into the rock, and he becomes, what the Skull Mask Killer was in the first one. But he does not have his bag over his head. He is Tommy Slater the whole movie. And that cool thing I talked about at the end happening, that we kind of get like an origin, you see how the bag gets put on his head. It's Cindy Berman jumping up and pulling it on and then just trying to almost like suffocate him. But he's able to knock her off, and then you get that cool shot that we've seen in the trailer where he turns with the light just right there. It was so cool. But what they do while Slater is just Slater, hacking people to bits, the first kill is unbelievable. Alice's boyfriend gets an axe to the face and like splits his face pretty much in two. And then he falls and he just keeps whacking it, man. Like, just chop that face to bits. Like, not quite the bread slicer, but close. Then he catches Drew Scheid in the bathroom stalls, just clean decapitation. If you've got an axe murderer, he's got to decapitate somebody, and just, it was clean. And like I said, all of his kills are just super, super brutal. When he gets to some of the younger campers, there's this nerdy kind of chubby kid who is like the jailer for the Shady Side kids, and he just is like there, and he sees Tommy, and you're like, oh man, like, run, kid, run! And before he can even move, Tommy is just on top of him, and you see the swing, and it cuts. You don't see the actual death, but you hear the noises. And then he catches like 3 Sunnyvalers in a similar situation, and just comes at him, and the camera cuts to something different, and you just hear all the chopping, and then you see the aftermath, like just body parts strewn, like, loved that stuff. Like, just everything around what they did with, Tommy's character as this axe killer, I just thought McCabe Slye crushed it. And his flip from being, what he is at the start, he's Cindy's boyfriend, and he seems fairly innocent, to becoming like the axe murderer that he does. It's like kind of heartbreaking, and I really appreciated what McCabe did. But outside of those, the end kill sequence, you get this wonderful build. Like I said, Ziggy and Cindy have these kind of parallel storylines, and they're kind of far apart from each other, and their storylines are slowly bringing them together throughout the course of the movie. And they end up almost getting to each other as they're both killed by our other, serial killers. What happens is we end up finding out that, like, where the hand is. They're able to find the hand. Alice actually finds it in some red moss. This red moss is everywhere. We see Cindy cleaning it in the bathroom stalls at the beginning of the movie. That's your clue that, like, the hand is right below them underneath the bathroom. And sure enough, like, they're able to find the hand or whatever. And then the goal is to get it to where her body is buried, which is supposed to be under that tree. And I don't know how it got moved or whatnot, but when they go looking for it, it's not there. And the hand ends up, I think, falling into that hole. And in that process, Ziggy, I think, bleeds on the hand, which then triggers the other, serial killers to show up. And unlike 94, we get the axe killer, alive a lot longer than we got the skull mask killer. Like, he becomes reincarnated pretty quick. It takes almost the whole movie for Tommy to get killed. And then once Ziggy ends up bleeding on the hand and it triggers the reincarnation of the other serial killers, earlier in the movie, down in the caverns where Cindy and Alice are, there's like this giant beating type heart thing, and Alice touches it and gets a flash of sour fear, but it's not like the same visceral connection when the blood hits any of her bones. But you get kind of like a flash, and you can tell that it's connected. And I'm thinking, is this sour fear's heart? Like, what is this thing? And once Ziggy bleeds on the hand, we go back to it, and you start to see it kind of moving, and gloop starts just coming out of it, and that is the nexus point for all the other serial killers, and you get to see them come out of this goopy, gross heart blob thing. It was like ugh, but awesome. And just kind of see them reform, and you get, I think it's the milkman, it's Billy Baker, and Ruby Lane is back, and you get her singing, just swinging her switchblade, which is freaking great. And then of course you see Tommy come back to life prior to that, and then so like by the time you're at the end and the two girls have like failed essentially, you're starting to see everybody just come at them, and you end up with this crazy brutal kill where like the girls are like get separated and they're working back to each other, and Ziggy gets stabbed by the milkman, and Cindy gets an axe to the chest, and like knowing that Tommy was her boyfriend, like that's the one that kind of hurts. And I like that it's him not getting Ziggy but getting Cindy. And I didn't know a person could be stabbed or hit in the chest with an axe as brutally as these two are, as many times as they are, and not die right away. Like, it was a little weird. But, like, you're watching Cindy, like, just get her chest split open by this axe, and she's, like, still breathing, screaming, but reaching for Ziggy. It's a beautiful shot when you see the two of them both dead, just so close to each other. And then Nick Good arrives and saves Ziggy. There is no saving Cindy, but she's split apart really bad. But I just love that whole build and the whole execution of that. And overall, I liked where we ended up, like how 78 tied into 94 and kind of gave us more background on Sarah Fear and her hand and how important all of it is to have together. That like once they're like, oh man, you know where the hand, we know where the body is, and they're able to put everything together. And in that moment, you get this time Dina bleeds on the bones, and instead of like a flashback, like, it seems like she becomes Sarah, and she's seeing everything from Sarah's point of view, and then we get that tease for 1666. Like, it's Sarah Fear's body almost incarnated by Dina. I'm very fascinated to see how they play that. Like, you see multiple of the characters do that, and characters from both movies, which is super exciting. But overall, man, like, it's a concept I'm interested. It's one of those where I'm just like, if that's actually like a reincarnation or they're living through that, I don't know how that plays, but if it's one of those, like, this is our way to keep our characters inside of this movie as well, that we've come to like over the course of these two movies, and tell the 1666 story simultaneously, that could be interesting. I'll wait to see the full trailer to kind of figure that one out. But from the kill standpoint, like, there's just a lot more brutality and viciousness to the Tommy Slater's axe killer. And I enjoyed just the quick bit we got of all the killers as they converged kind of on everybody. I'll be interested to see, like, if we're able to play with any of them in 1666, if the whole movie's going to take place there, if there's going to be, I hope there's some sort of big badass finale that's taking place in 1994. I'm pumped to see where all that goes, and I'm just overall excited. I love this series. And I love the whole angle of Ziggy and Nick kind of handling the camp madness while Cindy and Alice are rebonding, because you find out, like, they were friends formerly. You learn more about why Cindy split away and tried to become, like, the Sunnyvale poser, and how she kind of comes back around to the whole shady side bit through that journey. But investigating all the Sarah Fear stuff, I mean, the lair and like her witch's lair is dope, and then Cindy finds like a cavern, and they're able to put together, like, there's a nurse in the movie who is like a Sarah Fear junkie, and she gets possessed first, which leads to how Tommy gets possessed. But I just, like, they end up with this book that she has, and that book ends up being like a map, which we saw in the trailer. And I just love how once Cindy figures out, like, how to tell, like, that, so they don't go in circles, there's ways to figure it out if you're looking at this book. And just how it leads them down the Sarah Fear story and ties up a lot of that stuff from the first movie. And just the two of them playing off each other, I enjoyed all that stuff a lot. And like I said, that set down below in these caverns was just creepy and awesome. I just enjoyed it. And 1978... Part 2, as I said, 4.5 out of 5 C-Maniacs. I love the heck out of this, man. So that's it. That's everything I got from the non-spoiler and some little spoiler discussion here at the end. That means it is your turn, man. I want to know what you're thinking. If you have not watched the movie, I hope you skipped over the spoiler talk and have landed here. What'd you think? Did you watch 94? Is this something that's just in your queue in general that maybe you'll get to when all three are up after tomorrow? What are you thinking if you haven't seen the movie? You know, are you excited based on what I've said? Are you interested in the series? Is this not your cup of tea? And if you have seen the movies, are you excited for tomorrow's 1666? Did you like 78 more than 94? What do you think Janiak is doing that's good and bad comparatively to the two movies? Was this a step up or a step back for you? What did you dig? What characters did you like? Anything you got. Good, bad, indifferent on Fear Street 1978 goes down below in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with C-Man as we approach tomorrow's Fear Street Part 3, 1666. And just any coverage around that, or you like what I'm doing with TV and movie reviews, trailer reactions, you just want to show a little love and support to the old C-Man, easy to do, man. Come join C-Maniac Nation by jumping over there, hitting the subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.